Jax's revenge domain. They escorted me to the executive suite like I was reporting for a court-martial. Brooke Patterson didn't stand when I entered her corner office. She sat behind that glass desk, gesturing to the chair across from her with the kind of dismissive wave you'd give to a server bringing the wrong order. "Lucas," she said, "no handshake, no pleasantries. We need to discuss your transition timeline. I'm Lucas Sullivan, 55 years old, and I'd given Apex Defense Systems 28 years of my life. Started there right after my discharge from Army Signals Intelligence in 1996, back when the company was 15 people working out of a converted warehouse in Aurora, chasing government contracts that seemed impossible to win. I was 27 then, fresh out of the service with clearances and skills that defense contractors desperately needed. Brooke had been CEO for 14 months. Stanford MBA, 33 years old, brought in by the board for digital transformation after our founder, Harrison Wells, retired to his ranch in Montana. She had that Silicon Valley energy, always talking about disruption and agile workforces and leveraging synergies. She flipped open a tablet with my personnel file displayed. "Your performance reviews have been solid," she said like she was discussing yesterday's weather. "But we're pivoting toward a more digital native workforce. The cybersecurity landscape requires fresh thinking." Fresh thinking. The cybersecurity protocols generating 65% of their defense contracts were mine. I designed the core architecture in 2011 during a weekend when our system got penetrated by what we suspected were Chinese state actors. I'd locked myself in the lab for 72 hours straight, surviving on coffee and determination until I cracked a solution that would become the foundation of modern defense network security. I kept my expression neutral. 21 years in the Army teaches you not to react when some officer who's never seen real action tries to lecture you about tactics. She kept talking about organizational realignment and workforce optimization. Corporate speak for getting rid of expensive old guys who actually knew how the systems worked, who understood that cybersecurity wasn't just about the latest trendy algorithms, but about understanding how adversaries think. "The early retirement package is generous," she said, sliding a folder across the glass. 18 months salary, full benefits continuation, and a strong recommendation letter. I didn't touch the folder. Behind her, the Denver skyline stretched under a clear Colorado morning, the mountains visible in the distance, a view paid for by technology I'd built with my own hands. "You'll need to transfer all system access by end of business Friday," she concluded. "HR will handle the transition documentation." I stood up, straightened my jacket, and looked her in the eyes. "You might want to hold off on that transition paperwork." Then I walked out. No drama, no raised voices. Past the assistants pretending to work on their computers. Past the young engineers who probably saw me as some dinosaur who didn't understand cloud computing. Past the lobby with its expensive art installations and motivational posters about innovation. Outside, the October air had that Rocky Mountain bite to it. Denver traffic hummed along Colfax like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Instead of driving straight home, I went to Murphy's Tavern, the place where a lot of the defense contractor crowd grabbed lunch and talked shop. I ordered a bourbon, neat, and called Maxwell Rodriguez. Max had been my signal officer back in our Germany deployment, 1st Armored Division. Sharp guy, understood technology and people in equal measure. Now he was a patent attorney specializing in defense technology. If anyone could help me figure out my options, it was him. "Luke, what's going on?" Max asked when he picked up. "Just got the early retirement speech. Need to verify some intellectual property details." "About what specifically?" "The cybersecurity protocols from 2011, the ones Apex has been licensing to half the defense industry." Long pause. I could hear papers shuffling in the background. "Luke, where are you? Can you meet me at my office? I'll be there in 30 minutes. Max's office was downtown, nothing fancy but professional. He had his military commendation plaques on one wall, his law degree and bar certifications on another, and a photo of our old unit from Germany on his desk. Guy had earned every piece of recognition the hard way. "Show me the original patent filing," I said as soon as I sat down. He pulled it up on his computer, then started frowning. The kind of frown you get when you're looking at something that doesn't make sense. "Luke, this is interesting. The original application lists your home address in Littleton, not Apex's corporate address. What does that mean?" "It means you filed this as an independent inventor." He scrolled through the documents, clicking through screen after screen. And there's a notation here that says assignment pending legal review. I felt something cold settle in my gut. Legal review that never happened? Apparently not. Max leaned back in his chair, studying the screen. Do you understand what this could mean? If there's no valid assignment agreement, you're still the legal owner of patent 8,947,651. The cybersecurity technology that Apex had been licensing to every major defense contractor for the past 13 years. Technology that generated approximately $450 million in annual revenue across the entire defense industrial base. Money that flowed through dozens of companies, hundreds of government contracts, systems that protected everything from drone communications to satellite networks. What do we do? I asked. Max smiled. And it wasn't a friendly expression. It was the smile he used to get right before we'd intercept enemy communications back in Germany. First, we verify ownership with the patent office. Then we have a very interesting conversation with Apex about operating licenses they don't actually have. I left Max's office feeling like I'd just armed a tactical nuclear device and was the only person who knew the activation codes. The elevator ride down seemed to take forever. In the polished steel doors, I saw a 55-year-old guy wearing a polo shirt he'd bought at the PX, carrying a leather briefcase that had seen better deployments. But I wasn't some disposable employee anymore. I was potentially the legal owner of technology worth nearly $500 million, and Brooke Patterson had just made the biggest tactical error of her professional life. I drove home through familiar Denver suburbs, past strip malls and chain restaurants, thinking about implications and possibilities. My townhouse was in a decent neighborhood in Littleton, nothing fancy but comfortable. The mortgage was manageable, and I'd been smart with my investments over the years, thanks to military discipline about saving money. My German Shepherd, Ranger, greeted me at the door with his usual enthusiasm. Named after the unit I'd served with before signals intelligence, he was getting gray around the muzzle, but still had that alertness you want in a good soldier. I fed him, grabbed a beer from the fridge, and sat on my deck overlooking the small backyard where I kept my workbench for weekend projects. The phone buzzed. Text from Zach Foster, one of the senior engineers I'd mentored. Heard about the retirement thing. That's rough, man. Let me know if you need anything. I appreciated the sentiment but didn't respond. What was I supposed to say? Thanks, but I might be about to destroy the company we both worked for? The thing about working in the same place for 28 years is that people start seeing you as part of the infrastructure. Like the server room or the security badges or the clearance procedures. Reliable, always there, requiring minimal maintenance until someone like Brooke decides you're not worth the electricity. I thought about all the young engineers I'd trained, the classified projects I'd salvaged when they went sideways, the weekends I'd spent debugging systems while other people were at home with their families. I'd been offered positions at competitors over the years. Lockheed had tried to poach me twice. Raytheon had made a serious run at me in 2018, but I'd stayed at Apex out of loyalty to Harrison Wells and the mission. What a mistake that turned out to be. My phone lit up with an email notification around midnight. It was from Max, time-stamped 11:52 p.m. Subject line, preliminary findings. This is bigger than we thought. Luke spent the evening digging through USPTO records and Apex corporate filings. No assignment agreement anywhere in the system. Patent. 8,947,651 lists, you as sole inventor and owner. But here's the kicker. I found licensing agreements with 73 different entities, DoD contracts, NATO allies, private defense contractors. This technology is embedded in critical national security infrastructure. Meet me first thing tomorrow. We need to talk strategy. Max. I read it 3 times. Then I set the phone down and stared at the ceiling for a long time. Brooke Patterson had forced me into early retirement today, had looked across her glass desk with her startup arrogance and dismissed 28 years of service like I was legacy hardware to be decommissioned. She had no idea that the technology powering her entire company's success wasn't actually theirs to use, and in doing so, she'd just handed me leverage that could shut down defense contracts across 3 continents. Morning came with that particular Colorado clarity that makes you glad to be alive. I made coffee strong enough to wake the dead, fed Ranger, and put on my best suit. If today was going to be the beginning of the end for Brooke Patterson, I wanted to look professional. Max's office opened at 8. I was there at 7:45, sitting in his waiting area with coffee from the shop downstairs and a sense that my life was about to change in ways I couldn't predict. "She's waiting for you," his assistant said, pointing toward the conference room. Max had documents spread across the table like a mission briefing. Charts, printouts, legal briefs, patent filings, all of it arranged in neat stacks with military precision. He looked up when I entered, and I could tell he'd been up most of the night doing research. "Sit down, Luke. This is bigger than either of us imagined." He pushed a document across the table. "This is your original patent application from 2011, the cybersecurity architecture that Apex built their entire government contracts division around." I scanned the pages. My handwriting was in the margins, notes, and calculations from those long nights solving problems that seemed impossible. Seeing it now felt surreal, like looking at artifacts from a previous life where I'd been young enough to think I could change the world. "Here's what I found," Max continued, pulling out a thick folder. "Apex has been operating under the assumption they own this patent. They've executed licensing agreements with 73 different defense contractors, government agencies, and international allies." He spread out a chart showing the web of contracts. "Your technology is currently protecting communications for the 82nd Airborne in Afghanistan, NATO Cyber Command in Brussels, and about 50 other classified operations I can't even discuss in an unsecured location. How is that possible? Didn't anyone check the paperwork?" Max shrugged. "You know how it was in 2011. Everything was moving fast, lots of startup chaos after the defense budget cuts. They probably meant to have you sign an assignment agreement and it got lost in the shuffle. Years passed, everyone assumed it was handled, and no one ever followed up." He pulled out another document. "But here's what's interesting. I found this in Apex's original corporate bylaws from 1996. He pointed to a specific clause highlighted in yellow. It says that any intellectual property developed by employees becomes company property only after proper assignment documentation is executed and filed with both the patent office and the corporate secretary. And that never happened." "Correct. Which means this patent legally belongs to you. Not just legally, exclusively and unambiguously yours." The implications hit me like incoming artillery. So Apex has been licensing my technology for over a decade without actually owning it? That's exactly what they've been doing. Acting in good faith, probably, genuinely believing they had the rights. But legally speaking, they're operating your property without permission. Max leaned forward. "And Luke, every one of those 73 licensing agreements is potentially invalid." I sat back in my chair, processing what this meant. Not just for me, but for national security operations that depended on this technology. "What are my options?" I asked. Max counted them off on his fingers like he was running through a tactical checklist. "Option 1, let it slide. Take your retirement package and move on with your life. Not happening. Didn't think so. Option 2, demand retroactive royalties for all the licensing deals they've made over 13 years. We're talking serious money here, Luke. Industry standard for defense cybersecurity patents is 3 to 5% of gross revenue." I did the quick math in my head. If Apex had been generating $450 million annually from my technology, and they'd been at it for 13 years, even at 3%, that was substantial money. And option 3? Max's smile could have cut through classified armor plating. Revoke their license entirely. Force them to negotiate new terms if they want to continue using your technology, which would put Brooke in an impossible position. Exactly. She just forced you into early retirement. Now she needs you more than she's ever needed anyone. Max paused, studying my face. "But Luke, you need to understand what you're getting into. Apex has resources, expensive lawyers from white shoe firms. They'll fight back with everything they have. Can they win? Honestly? Probably not. Patent law is pretty clear about ownership, and we have documentation going back to the original filing. But they can make it expensive and drag it out for years. Plus," he hesitated. "Plus what?" "Plus this has national security implications. If you revoke the license, it's not just Apex that gets hurt. It's every military operation currently using systems built on your technology. The Pentagon is not going to be happy about suddenly losing cybersecurity protocols in the middle of ongoing operations." That stopped me cold. I hadn't thought about the soldiers in the field who might be depending on communications secured by technology I'd built. Guys like I used to be, trying to do their jobs in hostile territory. So what are you saying? I'm saying we need to be smart about this. Strategic. If we're going to use this leverage, we need to think about how to do it without compromising national security. I thought about Brooke Patterson sitting in her corner office, confident in her digital transformation strategy. About all the other experienced guys who'd been shown the door by companies that valued quarterly earnings over institutional knowledge. Let's do it. All of it. Retroactive royalties and license revocation. But we do it right. Max nodded slowly. This is going to get ugly. Good. He started gathering documents. First step is confirming ownership with the patent office. Then we send a cease and desist to Apex. But Luke, I think we should also reach out to some contacts I have in the Pentagon, give them a heads up about what's coming. You still have contacts there? JAG Core Network never really goes away. I know a colonel in Army Cyber Command who might want to know that a major defense contractor is about to lose the rights to critical cybersecurity technology. The rest of my day was spent organizing documentation at home. I had boxes of old files in my garage, notebooks from the early years, correspondence, even the original sketches where I'd worked out the protocol architecture on graph paper during that marathon weekend in 2011. Around 3 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. Lucas Sullivan. Mr. Sullivan, this is Jordan Pierce from Apex Defense Legal Department. We need to schedule a meeting to finalize your retirement documentation. I almost laughed. They wanted me to sign away any potential legal claims as part of the severance package. Standard corporate procedure, but the timing was perfect. I'll have my attorney review everything first, I said calmly. He'll be in touch. Mr. Sullivan, this is just routine paperwork to complete your transition. I'm sure it is, but I prefer legal counsel for any documentation. You understand. I hung up. Within an hour, I got an email from the same Jordan Pierce with a retirement agreement that was way more comprehensive than what Brooke had shown me. This version had extensive non-compete clauses, intellectual property assignment confirmations, and liability waivers that would have made a Pentagon lawyer proud. They wanted me to legally confirm I had no claims to anything I'd created while working there. I forwarded it to Max with one line. Thoughts? His response came back in minutes. Don't sign anything. This is exactly what we expected. They're panicking. That evening, I did something I rarely allowed myself. I opened a spreadsheet and started calculating. If I pursued retroactive royalties based on industry standard rates for patent licensing in the defense sector, the numbers were substantial. I ran it 3 different ways, trying to be conservative. Based on $450 million in annual revenue generated by my technology over 13 years, even at the low end of 3% royalties, I was looking at around $175 million. At 5%, it was closer to $290 million. Either way, it was more money than I could process. More than I'd earned in my entire career, more than I'd spend in 3 lifetimes. But that wasn't the point. The point was that Brooke Patterson had looked at my decades of contribution and seen nothing but an expense to be eliminated. Had reduced my value to a severance package and some corporate doublespeak about workforce optimization. Now I was about to show her exactly what I was worth. The next morning, Max called at 7:30. Patent office confirmation came through overnight. You are officially and unambiguously the owner of patent 8,947,651. I'm preparing the cease and desist letter now. How long before they get it? Courier delivery this afternoon. Should hit Brooke's desk by close of business. Make it certified. I want proof of receipt. Already handled. And Luke? I reached out to my contact in Army Cyber Command, Colonel Sarah Mitchell. She's very interested in this situation. What did you tell her? That a major defense contractor might be about to lose the rights to technology critical to ongoing operations. She wants to be kept informed as this develops. I felt a chill run down my spine. This wasn't just about corporate revenge anymore. This was about national security, about soldiers in the field who needed communications that worked. But it was also about holding companies accountable for how they treated the people who built their success. That afternoon, I drove up into the mountains, needing space to think. The October aspen were turning gold, and the air was thin and clean at 9,000 feet. My phone buzzed around 5 p.m. Text from Max. Cease and desist delivered. Confirmed receipt by Brooke Patterson personally at 4:47 p.m. I pulled over at a scenic overlook and read the message again. It was done. The first shot had been fired. I imagined Brooke opening that envelope, the confusion, then the disbelief, then the slowly dawning realization that her entire business model might be built on sand. The phone rang 10 minutes later. Max again. "They're calling already," he said. "Apex General Counsel wants an emergency meeting tomorrow." Brooke probably read the letter, had a mild panic attack, and immediately called legal. "What do we tell them?" "Nothing yet. Let them sweat over the weekend." Perfect. That meant they'd spend 3 days in crisis mode trying to figure out exactly how bad their situation really was. Friday was quiet. Too quiet. I kept expecting something dramatic, but there was nothing. Just silence from Apex's legal team while they figured out how deep the hole they'd dug actually was. Max explained it when I called him. They're doing damage assessment. Their lawyers are probably pulling apart every file, looking for anything that might contradict our claim. Meanwhile, their business development team is calling every client, trying to figure out which contracts are at risk. Will they find anything? Not based on what I've seen, but they have to look. And every hour they spend looking is another hour they're not operating with confidence. The weekend crawled by. I tried to stay busy with normal activities, took Ranger for long hikes in the foothills, worked on my '69 Camaro in the garage, watched college football, but my mind kept circling back to Apex, to Brooke, to what Monday would bring. Sunday evening, I got an email that surprised me. Harrison Wells, the founder who'd retired to Montana. "Luke, heard about recent developments through the grapevine. Would like to speak if you're available. I'm flying into Denver tomorrow morning." Harrison. I stared at the message for a long time. Harrison was complicated. Brilliant engineer, decent leader, but he'd also brought in the private equity guys who hired Brooke. He'd set this whole chain of events in motion by stepping back from day-to-day operations. I forwarded it to Max. Should I respond? "Your call. But if you meet with him, don't make any agreements without me present. And remember, he's probably there to run interference for Apex." I waited until Monday morning to respond. "Coffee at 10 a.m. Murphy's Tavern on Colfax." His reply was immediate. "I'll be there." Monday afternoon, Max sent me an update. Apex's legal team had requested a formal mediation session for Wednesday. Both sides, all attorneys present. "What does that mean?" I asked during our phone call. "Means they know they're in serious trouble." Mediation is what happens when one side wants to settle without admitting fault publicly. They're going to make an offer. How much do you think? Hard to say. But given what's at stake, the licensing revenue, the government contracts, the potential congressional scrutiny, I'm guessing it'll be substantial. I want to hear what Harrison has to say first. Good call. But Luke, Colonel Sarah Mitchell called me this morning. The Pentagon is taking this seriously. They're concerned about continuity of operations if this technology suddenly becomes unavailable. That hit me harder than I expected. What did you tell her? That we're working toward a resolution that protects national security while ensuring fair compensation for the patent holder. Tuesday morning was cold and clear. I got to Murphy's early, claimed our usual booth in the back, ordered black coffee. The lunch crowd was starting to filter in. Defense contractors, government employees, the usual mix of people who kept Colorado's military-industrial complex running. Harrison arrived exactly on time. He looked older than I remembered, more gray in his hair, but still had that intensity that had made him successful in the first place. "Luke," he said, sliding into the booth across from me. "Thanks for meeting." I waited. "You look good. Better than I expected given the circumstances. I got forced into early retirement, Harrison, by your hand-picked successor, after 28 years. He nodded slowly. "I heard about that. It's part of why I'm here. I didn't know Brooke was planning to let you go. You're still on the board." "Nominally. But I haven't been involved in personnel decisions since I stepped back." "Then why are you here?" "Because I got a call from our general counsel Friday evening. Apparently there's a situation with patent 8,947,651. He paused. "Your patent. Always was." Harrison sipped his coffee. "I'm not here to argue legalities. The lawyers will handle that. I'm here because I wanted to talk to you directly, person to person, before this becomes a full-scale war. It's already a war. Does it have to be?" He leaned forward. "Luke, I remember when you first cracked the cybersecurity problem. You came into my office looking like you hadn't slept in a week. I knew right then we had something that could change everything. Then you should have made sure the paperwork was handled properly. You're absolutely right. That's on me, on the company. It was sloppy and unfair to you. I waited. But Luke," he continued, "shutting down Apex won't fix what happened. It'll hurt a lot of innocent people. Employees who had nothing to do with your retirement. Military operations that depend on our technology. That's emotional manipulation. It's also true. Then maybe Brooke should have thought about that before forcing me out. Harrison was quiet for a moment. What do you want, Luke? Is this about money, recognition, getting Brooke removed? I considered the question seriously. What did I want? I want what's mine, I finally said. I want recognition for what I built, and I want Apex to understand that experienced people aren't disposable assets to be discarded when they become inconvenient. That can be arranged. We can issue a public statement recognizing your contributions, negotiate a fair licensing agreement going forward. And between you and me, Brooke probably won't survive this politically. The board is already questioning her judgment. But it would be better for everyone if this doesn't become a public legal battle that drags on for years and potentially compromises national security. I stood up. Tell your lawyers I'll see them Wednesday. Harrison looked disappointed. Luke, I'm done being reasonable, Harrison. They treated me like obsolete equipment. Now they're going to learn exactly how valuable that equipment really is. Wednesday arrived with the first snow of the season. The mediation was at a downtown law office, neutral ground with conference rooms designed for exactly this kind of corporate warfare. The Apex team walked in like they were attending a funeral. Brooke led them, avoiding eye contact, flanked by 3 lawyers from what looked like the most expensive firm in Denver. Max and I sat across from them at a conference table that probably cost more than my first car. Their opening offer was insulting, $75 million, a public acknowledgement of my contributions, and a consulting contract for ongoing technical support, all in exchange for a full release of claims and a perpetual license to use my technology. Max and I stepped outside to confer. They're trying to buy you off cheap, he said. They still don't understand how bad their position is. We went back in and made our counteroffer. Full retroactive royalties of $150 million based on 13 years of licensing revenue, 10% ongoing royalties from all products using my technology, a seat on the advisory board with oversight of veteran hiring practices, and a public statement acknowledging that my technology was the foundation of their success. Oh, and Brooke's resignation. The room went silent. We waited 6 hours while they huddled with their team, made phone calls, probably had emergency board meetings. I used the time to walk around downtown Denver, thinking about how my life had changed in just 2 weeks. They came back with $120 million and 7% royalties. No board seat, no resignation. I stood up. Then we're done here, Max announced to the mediator. Effective immediately, we're revoking Apex's license to use patent 8947651. They have 72 hours to cease all use. That's catastrophic, their lead lawyer stammered. For them, yes. We walked out into the snow. It was coming down harder now, big flakes that made the city look clean and new. This will go public now, Max warned as we got to our cars. Good. Let everyone see what happens when you treat people like they're disposable. That night, Max filed the license revocation with the patent office and sent copies to every major defense contractor and government agency that used Apex's systems. By Thursday morning, the story had broken everywhere. Wall Street Journal led with it. Defense contractor faces crisis as patent owner revokes license. The stock was down 15% at opening, and the financial news was calling it a potentially catastrophic intellectual property dispute with national security implications. By noon, my phone was ringing constantly. Reporters, other companies, congressional staffers, Pentagon officials. I ignored most of them. But when Harrison called around 2 p.m., I picked up. Luke, for God's sake, do you understand what you're doing? The stock is in free fall. Pentagon procurement is calling emergency meetings. Then make me a better offer. What do you want? Everything I asked for. $150 million retroactive, 10% ongoing, advisory board position, and a public acknowledgement of what I built. Non-negotiable. And Brooke? Gone. I don't care how you frame it. Harrison was quiet for a long time. The board is meeting an emergency session. I'll present your terms. You have until 5 p.m. After that, every sale they make is willful infringement. Triple damages apply. At 4:45, Harrison called back. The board has agreed, all of it, including Brooke's resignation. When? She submitted it an hour ago, effective immediately, citing personal reasons and a desire to pursue other opportunities. I signed the final agreement the following Monday. $150 million in retroactive royalties, 10% ongoing licensing fees, an advisory board position with oversight of veteran affairs, and a public statement that would be printed in every major defense industry publication. More importantly, Apex implemented a new policy. No employee with more than 20 years of service could be terminated without board approval and a formal review process. 6 months later, I established the Sullivan Veteran Innovation Fund with $25 million from the settlement. Legal support for veteran entrepreneurs who develop valuable technology but can't afford to protect their intellectual property. Because the best revenge isn't destroying your enemies, it's building something that outlasts them, and making sure the next guy in your position has better protection than you did. Here's what I learned. Companies will always see you as replaceable until the day they realize they can't replace what you actually built. The moment you become truly indispensable is often the same moment they try to dispose of you.